he was an outcast, abandoned to a life of poverty on the unforgiving steppes. History should have forgotten him. Instead, he returned as its greatest conqueror. He forged the largest contiguous land empire in history, and his name would become a synonym for both terror and greatness. This is the story of how a boy named Temüjin was forged in hardship, mastered the arts of brutal warfare and statecraft, and became the ruthless Genghis Khan. How did a likely illiterate outcast turn the feuding tribes of Mongolia into a powerful nation and an unstoppable force? The answer is a life of unimaginable struggle, a revolutionary vision, and a capacity for brutality the world had never seen. To understand the man, you have to understand his world. The 12th century Mongolian steppe wasn't a single country. It was a violent, fractured landscape of sweeping grasslands and harsh mountains, home to warring nomadic tribes. Life was a constant, grinding struggle for resources. The Mongols, the Tatars, the Merkits, the Naimans, and the Karaites were locked in a near-endless cycle of raids, kidnappings, and betrayals. Alliances were flimsy, and loyalty was a commodity as scarce as water in the Gobi. Here, strength was the only law that mattered. It was a land that bred hard men, but it was still waiting for a leader who could tame its chaotic spirit. The nomadic lifestyle, dictated by the seasons and the needs of their herds, made them expert horsemen and archers from birth. Every man was a hunter, and so every man was a potential warrior, but their power was divided. Tribal identity came first, long before any idea of a united Mongol people. They fought each other with the same ferocity they would later turn on the rest of the world. It was into this brutal, lawless land that a boy was born, sometime around 1162, though other dates are suggested by scholars. Legend says he was holding a clot of blood in his fist, a dark omen of the warrior he was destined to become. His name was Temüjin. Temüjin was born into a minor noble family. His father, Yesugei, was a respected clan chieftain, but not a dominant one. As was tradition, when Temüjin was 9, his father arranged his marriage to a girl from another tribe, Berta, and left him to live with her family. It was a strategic move meant to build alliances, but this act of duty led to disaster. On his way home, Yesugei was ambushed and poisoned by a rival Tatar clan, ancient enemies of his people. A chieftain's death meant vulnerability. Yesugei's followers, seeing no reason to follow a child, abandoned his family. Temüjin, his mother Hürlün, and his 6 siblings were cast out, reduced to poverty and near starvation. Their livestock was gone, their status erased. The years that followed were a desperate scramble to survive, foraging for roots and hunting rodents just to stay alive. This bitter hardship taught Temüjin about betrayal and the absolute need for self-reliance. The world had shown him zero mercy, and he would learn to show none back. Life within the family was just as brutal. In a fight over food, a raw symbol of their desperation, the teenage Temüjin and his brother Kasar killed their older half-brother, Bekta. This shocking act cemented Temüjin's position as the family's leader. But his troubles weren't over. As his reputation grew, a rival clan captured and enslaved him, forcing him into a wooden kang, a heavy collar for prisoners. Even then, his spirit didn't break. He staged a daring escape, an early sign of the resilience that would define him. These brutal years, losing his father, being betrayed by his clan, the constant hunger, and his enslavement, were the furnace that smelted Temüjin, the survivor, into Genghis Khan the Conqueror. Having survived a childhood that would have broken most men, Temüjin emerged into adulthood a charismatic and formidable warrior. He found his intended wife, Berta, and honored the marriage pact his father had made. But the cycle of steppe violence was relentless. Soon after their wedding, the rival Merkit tribe kidnapped Berta in a raid. Revenge for Temüjin's own mother being kidnapped by his father from a Merkit man decades earlier. This was the moment that launched Temüjin on his path to power. Losing his wife wasn't just a personal blow, it was a political test. He was a young leader with no army and few followers. What good was a leader who couldn't protect his own family? He didn't despair. He acted. He called on the two most important allies he had left from his father's time. Togrul, the powerful Khan of the Kerid tribe, and a charismatic Mongol leader named Jamukha, who had become Temüjin's Anda, or blood brother. Together, they raised an army, crushed the Merkits, and rescued Berta. The victory was a major turning point. It was Temüjin's first great military success, and his reputation soared. Warriors flocked to his banner, drawn by his charisma, skill, and his habit of generously sharing the spoils of war. For a while, he and Jamukha ruled together, but they had fundamentally different ideas about leadership. Jamukha believed in the old aristocratic system, where power belonged to the nobility. Temüjin, however, had a revolutionary idea: meritocracy. He promoted men based on their skill and, most importantly, their loyalty to him, not their family tree. This was radical. A common shepherd could become a general in Temüjin's army if he proved his worth. This forged an intensely loyal and effective fighting force, attracting talented men from every tribe. But his rising popularity and revolutionary ideas put him on a collision course with his old friend Jamukha. The two became bitter rivals. plunging the steppe into a civil war between two competing visions for the future of the Mongol people. The fight between Temüjin and Jamukha was a battle for the soul of the Mongol people. After years of shifting alliances and brutal battles, Temüjin steadily grew his power. He defeated the Tatars, taking brutal revenge for his father's murder. Some chronicles claim he ordered the execution of every Tatar man taller than a cart axle, though the exact scope of this is debated. He then turned on former allies who had betrayed him, including Togrul Khan and finally his old blood brother Jamukha. By 1206, Temüjin had defeated all his rivals and united every tribe on the steppe under his command. He was the undisputed master of his world. That year, a great assembly, or Kurultai, of all the Mongol chieftains proclaimed him leader of the unified Mongol nation. They gave him the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. The boy who was cast out and left to starve was now sovereign of his people. His first act wasn't to invade foreign lands, but to completely restructure Mongol society. He broke up the old feuding tribal units and reorganized his people and his army into a decimal system. Groups of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. Critically, he mixed members of different tribes within these units, forcing their loyalty away from old clan chieftains and toward their new commanders, and ultimately toward him. To govern his new nation, he established a code of laws known as the Yasa. No complete version survives today, but later sources indicate it was a comprehensive code designed to ensure obedience to the Khan, bind the clans together, and punish wrongdoing mercilessly. It reportedly established broad religious toleration, banned the kidnapping of women, regulated hunting, and made theft and adultery punishable by death. The Yasa was the legal backbone that forged a disciplined state out of chaos. Through meritocracy, military reorganization, and common law, Genghis Khan had done the impossible. He hadn't just conquered the Mongols, he had created them. Now he was ready to unleash this new weapon on the world. The Mongol art of war was revolutionary. Its greatest asset was mobility. Every soldier was a horseman with multiple mounts, allowing them to cover huge distances at incredible speeds. They were masters of psychological warfare. Before an invasion, spies would map enemy territory and spread rumors to sow fear. Terror was a deliberate weapon. Cities that surrendered peacefully were often spared, but those that resisted faced annihilation. The Mongols often made horrific examples of captured cities, ensuring the next city would think twice before fighting back. On the battlefield, their most famous tactic was the feigned retreat. Mongol cavalry would charge, clash, and then pretend to flee in chaos. When the overconfident enemy broke formation to give chase, they were led straight into a massive prepared ambush. They also mastered siege warfare, incorporating conquered engineers into their armies to build catapults and battering rams to take down the world's most fortified cities. Their first major test was against the empires of China. Starting in 1211, Genghis launched a campaign against the Jin dynasty, and by 1215, he captured their capital, Zhongdu, located in the area of modern Beijing. This victory gave him access to even more advanced technology and expertise, but the most infamous campaign was the invasion of the Khwarezmian Empire in Central Asia, starting in 1219. It was provoked when the Shah of Khwarezm executed Mongol envoys sent to establish trade. For this unforgivable insult, Genghis Khan unleashed his entire army. In a brilliant strategic move, he marched a huge force through the difficult Kizil-Kum desert to appear unexpectedly behind the Shah's main defensive lines, shattering their strategy. What followed was a campaign of total annihilation. The great Silk Road cities of Bukhara, Samarkand, and Merv were destroyed. At Nishapur, after his son-in-law was killed in battle, the Mongols, led by his son Tolui, reportedly carried out a massacre so total that pyramids of skulls were erected as a monument to their vengeance. While the exact numbers are debated by historians, the destruction was so profound that it utterly erased one of the most powerful empires in the Islamic world from existence,